Hi, my name is Ari, and I'm so happy you have chosen to watch an episode of our podcast, the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast. I was inspired to start podcasting as a kind of shift that I had from the dance world into journalism. I grew up dancing ballet, and I have performed with the New York City Ballet and Miami City Ballet at Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater and in Madison Square Garden. So my overarching experience in dance has really inspired me to open up conversation that affects and influence our mental health. We have experts from every field to just talk about things and to find some level of growth, grace, and gratitude within each step of our evolution. I also want to mention that we have spiritual courses available for anybody that wants guidance on their spiritual journey. And if that includes coaching, we have a lot of guidebooks about inner child healing and mental health support and relationship guidance. And for students, we have great tutoring for writers who want to build on their journalistic skills or who want to publish their first novel, who want to work on their writing in general. We have courses in dance, ballet, yoga, and Pilates. So whether you are advanced or brand new, our classes are held on Zoom, and we have options for personal classes or group classes. And for writers, there's also an option of the typewriter. So if you have a typewriter that needs repair, we can repair that for you. And if you need a new typewriter, you can purchase a beautiful typewriter and start the writing process at your own pace. If you would like to have me on your podcast or would like to be a guest on my podcast, or if you want us to answer your questions in an upcoming episode, please send us an email at growthandgracemindset@gmail.com. And if you like our shows and they resonate with you, please consider giving our show a rating of 5 stars. Give us a comment, follow us, and just enjoy the episodes. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your journey with us. I hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome to the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast, where we talk about all things mental health, wellness, positive psychology, inner child healing, business tips, and so much more. And today we'll be talking a little bit about meditation, healing, and how to reconnect to your true self with our special guest, Madhur-Nain Webster, as a licensed marriage and family therapist who specializes in the integration of Eastern and Western philosophies for mental health and feeling stuck in life. For over 25 years, she has empowered clients to connect with themselves and others through mindfulness and psychotherapy interventions. She applies her profound understanding of the importance of open communication at her successful private practice in Napa, California. Her first book, The Stressless Brain, makes a scientific argument for the positive influence meditation has on the psyche. Her second book, Beyond the Pain, will be released spring of this year, which is fantastic. In addition, she has released over 60 oh, that's beautiful, singles. Yes, that's so lovely. She maintains international outreach through her work and meditation releases. So that is so beautiful. Show us your book again. It's so lovely.
This is my new book. It's just pre-order release, and it will be out June 24th. So I'm very
Fantastic. That's so amazing. And Beyond the Pain, that's such a great title because I feel like so many of us when we're going through healing and recovery and any kind of trauma that we're going through, it's so hard to look beyond the pain. It's so hard to even think about that because when we're in it, that really consumes us and it's so difficult to kind of even think beyond it. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration of the book and what is the message that people can take away from it?
yeah. So as you mentioned, I've been working with people for over 25 years, and one of the things I've noticed is that often when people have disappointments and grief in their life, like they've been fired or broken up with or lost a loved one or had their car broken into or went to the grocery store and bought 4 bags of groceries and one got left in the cart and maybe their money's tight. And, like say small, medium, large disappointments. And many of us don't know how to process it or what to do. We often suppress it or we often self medicate because we don't want to feel what we're feeling. And so I wrote this book. The first part of the book talks about disappointment and grief, and I talk about a superpower that we all have, which is self-esteem. I talk about the importance of having a belief in something greater than ourself. And then the second half of the book is about, is a 30 steps on how to work through disappointment and grief. And some people can do some grief we get through and disappointment in one day or even 1 hour. Sometimes it takes us 30 years, depending on the disappointment. Yeah. What I wanted is being in this field for so many years, and my first book and my second book, one of the things that bothers me about self-help books is often I read the book and I'm like, yes, you understand what I'm feeling. Oh, yes, that's such a great point. And then you finish the book and you're like, but I don't know how to change this. Like, you didn't tell me what to do. You didn't tell me how to process it. You didn't give me tools that I can actually do something with. It's a lot of empathy, which is important. But I would say my overarching approach to my work with clients is solution focused. I'm about making change. So both of my books have a lot of steps of this is how you do something. This is how you process anger. This is how you process sadness. This is how you process disappointment.
I love that. That's so amazing, and that speaks. I feel like it's going to speak to so many people because I actually recently started making a shift from like talking so much and from talk therapy, which is also really great for a period in your life when that's really helpful to help you access those feelings and emotions through communication. And I feel like there comes a time where you're inspired now to take that next phase, and that has to be solution oriented. Like you mentioned, being solution oriented is so helpful. And I think oftentimes when we grow up either in families or environments that don't allow us to even become aware of those tools of being solution focused, that's where chaos just ensues so much more easily, and we lose our ability to even have like a sense of clarity for the future. That's such a great tip.
Yeah, I think that we can very easily get caught in the narrative of our story. And one of the quotes in my book is, we all have the power to change our story. And it's, if we only talk about what happened again and again, like we tell our neighbor and then we tell our best friend and then we bump into an old friend and we tell them what happened. Every time you tell it, there is a part of telling the story that helps to process it, help to uncover parts of it. But we can get stuck in telling our narrative story of this happened to me, it's so hard and I can't and I won't and it's not fair. And we can be there for 30 years. We can be
Wow,
stuck.
yeah. Yeah, such a beautiful realization also, because it's so hard for us sometimes to get out of that hamster wheel cycle. I recently wrote an article about, I think it was called like silence therapy, or like not speaking for like the first beginning of the day, or just trying to not speak without thinking. So I tried that practice with a few of my clients about inner child healing work. And it was really interesting how we connected so much to our subconscious minds and the things that we think and say without thinking. Like we're just like continuously perpetuating a toxic narrative about us or about anybody, and it's like that's already in our subconscious psyche. And it's so interesting how when we did the exercise and we tried to refrain from speaking, we were in a safe environment. So if anybody wants to try this, just to make sure that you are in a safe environment where you're not told to be quiet, you're just doing it for your own self. And we actually learned things about how we process things and how we subconsciously program ourselves to either be a victim or to gossip about people. And that leads to nothing solution oriented.
No. I tell people often that the way I see things is whatever you're thinking will influence what you're feeling, and whatever you're feeling influences how you behave. And often we think, you made me feel this way, or you're, and it's like, no, how you interpret what happened around you, how it comes in your eyes, in your ears, in your energy, how you digest it, the narrative you give it influences how you feel. And that influences how you behave. And the thing is, how we see the world is directly influenced by the lenses we create from our childhood trauma and drama. And so if we think like, oh, nobody likes me and I can never make friends, that's a lens. Like, talk about like a pair of glasses. That's a lens that we might have had a thing in middle school, or maybe our siblings and I didn't get along. And so I have the narrative that no one likes me. But then anything you see in your life is through that lens of nobody likes me. And that's all we can see. And the examples, like if you ever think, oh, I'm thinking if I want to get pregnant, all of a sudden you see pregnant people everywhere. Oh, I think I want to buy a blue Ford truck. All of a sudden you see blue Ford trucks everywhere, because our brain picks up what we are wanting to focus on. So we have the power to change our story. We have the power to change our lenses, but if we can't see it, we can't change it.
That's amazing. And you talk more about this like with the skill of self-observation, right? That's such a beautiful gift. Can you give some tips for people who want to actually learn how to try this and incorporate it into their daily lives for helping them manifest things and aligning with their true self?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things you can do. One is, whenever you get feedback from a friend or a colleague or anybody, try to pause, just 3, 2, 1, just pause and ask yourself, is there any truth in what they just said about me? I may not like it, but is there any truth? Just sit with it for a minute and try to reflect. So that's one. Second is, meditation is a great way to process our feelings. So in a lot of meditation practices, they encourage us to quiet the mind and have no thoughts. But I actually think that we can do a meditation, a breath meditation or a chanting meditation, and you can bring into the meditation that thing that you want to process. So maybe your friend said, Madhur-Nain, you know what? You're really sensitive and it's really hard to be a friend with you. It's like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Okay, I'm going to go meditate. And you sit with that and you think about, how do I behave? And as you're chanting or doing the breath, it's a way of like cheesecloth. The meditation's a cheesecloth and our thoughts are going through it. And that helps us to look at different perspectives and helps us to let go of some of the narratives. Another thing you can do as well is journaling, like what you were sharing a moment ago about being able to look at the narrative that you're saying. And that, so if you write it down and then go back a week later and read it and be like, is this still true? Why did I think it that way? So being able to look at how we process and think.
That's amazing. And I think it helps so much, especially as your specialty is in marriage and family therapy, connecting to your partner and people in your family. I think it's so huge. And I think you're doing great work for even generational healing, because all these things that we have subconsciously stored in our minds, I feel like that's like multi generational, and it keeps coming to us, and we bring it to our kids until somebody starts realizing and picking up on those things and being like, oh my gosh, like all these concepts and things are actually helping me activate my inner child, or helping me like to accept parts of myself that before I was having shame or having guilt or confusion about. When it comes to marriage counseling, what are some tips that a good thing to start with if people are fighting or having disagreements and they just want a sense of peace in their relationship?
Well, first thing first is, all relationships have disharmony. So there's no way we can always have peace, but we can have moments of calmness, we can have moments of connection, and disharmony and disconnection are going to come. It's just part of all relationships. So there's a couple of things that, if you find that you're at odds with each other, you're fighting, or you're just feeling lonely in your relationship, or you're having a hard time, the first thing to notice is, am I the hurt person? Am I in my wise adult self that I can actually hold space for the relationship and have a conversation? Or am I in a triggered state? My feelings are hurt, I'm angry, I'm feeling insecure. If you're in another state, that's not the time to have a conversation, because you'll be operating from the wounded self. And the wounded self is going to want to lash out, or the wounded self is going to want to push the other person away, like a tug of war, like, come here, go away, I want you to love me, you don't love me. And that can come through our message. So if we're not in a wise space of our adult self, which means that we can hear feedback, it means that we're curious. I tell clients all the time, I work with a lot of couples, I say curiosity is the antidote to defensiveness. So if you find that you're very defensive, it means you're not in your wise self. You're in a reactive self. Because the thing is that unless, sometimes a relationship is very unhealthy and maybe we should not be in it. Most of us are in relationships that there's many things that we love about the partner. There's a reason why we're in it, and they're going to make us mad or they're going to hurt our feelings. That's just what happens in relationships. But if we are in that really hurt state, we can't have a conversation. People try to when they're upset. So the thing is, you take a time out, you say, hey, I'm really triggered or I'm upset. I'm going to be back in 20 minutes. And when you walk away for 20 minutes or an hour, you don't go scrolling on your phone. You don't go shopping. You don't go, distracted watching TV. You got to do some work to bring yourself in a wise state self, so that you can then go back and say, hey, partner, I'm ready to talk now. And then you got to break it down. A couple things. One, I have this topic I call don't stockpile. You did this, and then you did this, and then you do this. Don't stockpile. And I'd say to my clients, what it feels like is like 100,000 tons of cotton balls fall on us. Does it kill us? No, but we feel like we're suffocating. Your partner's probably going to go, what? I'm just not good enough for you. I can never do anything right. So, one topic only. I'm really disappointed that you were late for dinner once again. I'll make something simple. And then you want to break it down. The fact, what I make up, makes me feel, and what do I want? So this is called the feedback wheel. It's from Terry Reel's work at PM Melody. And so the feedback wheel is facts. The facts is literally something that's true. A truth is you were late for dinner, whether it's a minute or an hour. Here's the ticker, the second part. The second part is how, remember I said earlier, the lens, how we interpret their behavior. Often we think that that's truth. You're such a jerk. But that's our opinion of their behavior. Their behavior is they were late. Some people might say that's being a jerk. Some people might say they're just working really hard. Some people might say it's out of their control. They hit traffic. But the lens of how we see how people treat us is going to influence how we interpret the facts. And then what you make up influences what you feel, not the facts. What we make up about the facts. And then the fourth is, what do we want? So an example would be, you were late for dinner by 30 minutes. And I make up in my mind that you think your time is more important than my time and you don't value me, which leaves me feeling angry and sad. What I would like is, if you're going to be more than 10 minutes late, could you call me? So that would be a very simple, easy example. It's not always that easy in relationships, but
So true, yeah.
that's a tool.
And that's so great because it also usually it always ties back to like being neglected or feeling disrespected. We have to get to that core of how we're feeling and how somebody made us feel, because when we have that clarity, I feel like it helps to lay everything out on the table and then have a positive discussion. Hopefully both partners are open enough to accept this kind of it's still criticism in a way, because we're criticizing an act, or our feeling is a response or reaction from something that happened. So yeah, it's such a great tip how you laid everything out. That's really, really great. I feel like couples need to hear that repetitively, because it's like when we get into argument, it's so difficult to in those moments figure out like what to say, how to be calm, how to be centered.
Yeah. No, it's love isn't easy, and relationships aren't easy, and having kids isn't easy, and living this life isn't easy, and it is beautiful. Both are true. And that's part of what I talk about in my Beyond the Pain book, is that part of healing or processing relationships or disappointments in life is about learning how to hold opposing feelings. I really love my partner and I'm really mad at them right now. Both is true. I'm I want to keep living. We'll go something heavy. I want to keep living and having a good life, and I lost my partner. They died. And how do we? Our brains, our minds think in contrast. The mind thinks right, wrong, good, bad, stop, go. But everything around us is so multifaceted. It's not black and white. And it's really about teaching the brain and the mind and the psyche and the nervous system to hold opposing feelings. And that's where the meditation comes in. Meditation helps us to hold opposing feelings and events. It doesn't fix it all. Like, life is unfair. Life is not right. There is pain and suffering.
So true, yes. And talking about meditation, that's exactly where I was going next. And you have released over 60 meditation singles. So could you talk a little bit about what that is, and why meditation is such a beautiful way to help heal and recenter the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. So I have a saying that meditation is a washing machine for our brain and chanting a spot remover.
Oh, I love that.
So, yeah. So the kind of meditation that I teach is different breath meditations and different kind of chanting meditations. So often we know in, psychology and in Western philosophy is silent meditation to quiet the mind and be in the stillness. But people who have anxiety and depression and live a very busy life, that is very difficult for most people. And there's something called relaxation induced anxiety, which means that when we slow down, all of a sudden emotions, uncomfortable emotions bubble up. And so by doing a breath meditation, and what that means is like you're inhaling maybe in 4 parts, exhaling in one. So hold your breath and then, so that's one kind of meditation. Or there's a chanting one. Hummy hum, brum hum, hummy hum, brum hum. So either of those meditations, it gives your mind something to focus on so that you don't get caught in the narrative of your trauma and drama. You're doing both. You're chanting and thinking about, oh my God, I had this fight with my partner and I'm feeling so sad. And what if it never gets better? And you're just chanting through it. Does it fix it? No, but it allows your brain and mind to calm down. It brings your sympathetic nervous system, which is the stress response, into the parasympathetic nervous, which is the calming. And we can always think better and make choices better when we're calmer and in a more neutral space. So I've created these meditations for many years now, and one of the reasons is because so many people in the past used to come to me and say, "I try meditating, but it doesn't work. It just makes everything worse. I get so anxious sitting there," and so that's why I worked on recording all of these recordings.
That is so beautiful. That's amazing. And where can people get these meditations and also connect with you and to get your books?
Yeah, so all the music files is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You just put in my name, Madhur-Nan. I'm the only Madhur-Nain Webster out there. So you can find me there, and all the instructions are on my website, madhurnan.com. And my new book, Beyond the Pain, you can get it on Amazon, and you can also get it Barnes and Noble and Penguin Random House.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. This was such a great, inspiring conversation. I'm sure our listeners will really take a lot of what you said and help incorporate and integrate into their daily lifestyles, whether they're in a relationship or with their family or friends. You're doing beautiful work. I absolutely love it.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I enjoyed speaking with you.